Hey everyone, and thanks for checking out another video. This will be our last time at the Cleveland Cliffs Middletown Works in Ohio. We're looking at the green coil yard, where the freshly rolled green coils are stored until they're needed. Now, we've seen how the raw materials needed for steel are brought into the facility and then turned into the steel slabs. Let's back up a step and see how these coils are made. I've included a link to my steelmaking playlist in the description, so you can go check out any portion of the process you may have missed. Also, as usual, I will speed up parts of the process to explain them, but I'm going to put a link to a video featuring all the raw video at regular speed with no narration in the description for you to check out as well. This footage is from a video AK Steel put together on the process. I'll include a link to it in the description. It's definitely worth checking out. Now, the steel slabs we saw in the previous video are loaded into the hot strip mill where they're rolled thinner and thinner. They start out about 9 inches thick, but after passing through several sets of rollers, they're just an inch thick or so. Now, the video discusses more about the different treatments for the coils and the special coatings they can receive. The steel continues to be pressed thinner and thinner until it's the thickness of a credit card. Let's watch a bit more, and I'll include a link to another video focusing solely on the creation of steel coils and how they're turned into everyday items. Notice that high pressure water being sprayed onto the slab. I believe that serves two purposes, the first being to cool the slab down, and the second is to descale any impurities from the surface. Here we see the slab enter another set of rollers. Notice how thin it is now and how much more flexible it is as it rolls by. There we see more water being sprayed. Here's another look. This time it's less than an inch thick. At the end of the line, the steel is at the required thickness. You can also see how it's cooled considerably. It is no longer glowing. I do believe, though, that it's still quite hot to the touch, so workers need to be careful around it. And notice how it has a dull finish. While from here, it can be treated or coated in a variety of materials depending on what its final destination and use is. As we follow it along, this is where the steel gets rolled into a coil. I believe this machine is called an upender. It takes the coil and rotates it 90 degrees for the next step in the process, the coil chain, which will take it next door. Once the coil is in the correct position, it's slid onto the coil chain and waiting its next move. Notice how the end is just hanging on loose. Now, before the coil leaves, it will have a steel band placed around it to keep it nice and tight. It will also be marked to easily identify it for future use. Here's a better look at the loading area. The yard itself is nearly 3/4 of a mile, or about 1.1 kilometers in length. We'll watch as heavy-duty tractors pick up the coils and then load them onto rail cars. But first, once the coils are finished at the hot strip mill, they need to be moved to the green coil storage area. This is where the coils can be sent for further processing on-site or off to Rockport, Indiana, or some other location. Now, we'll see that in an upcoming video. Right now, we're flying over the hot strip mill, and that's the coil storage area in front of us. The pickling line is off to the right. Now, it doesn't make sense to use a truck to move these coils, so the mill designers came up with a pretty smart idea, a modified conveyor belt. Or actually, two coil chains as they're called. Now, I'm not sure how recently they were added, but I'm pretty sure that they dramatically sped up how quickly the finished coils could be moved and ready to be loaded. This is where the coils come out of the hot strip mill. Notice those guide tracks to keep the coils in position. Now, this is a pretty simple design. They're just two roller chains and some I-beams. Now, there are roller bearings between each link of those small plates. Now, it's incredible the weight that they can support because those coils, they're pretty heavy. Here's a look toward the green coil storage building. Notice how the coils are on their side as they move. That first coil is marked with 1976, the second 1977, and there's a third at 1979. If you know what those markings mean, I'd love to know what they indicate. And here's a look at them inside the building. Notice how they're up right now. Unfortunately, we can't see how it happens, but I have a video to give you an idea. This footage is from a promotional video created by Mecon Industries a few years ago. The machine is called a coil upender. The machine is similar to how the coils are uprighted after initially being wound up. I'm not sure how it works in Middletown, but this gives you an idea of the motion the coils go through to be in the correct orientation. Alright, back to our coils. Now that they're upright, how are they going to move around the building and the yard? Well, first up, an overhead crane swings into the picture before settling over our coil. It then lowers down, closes its grip, and off it goes. A short time later, and the conveyor belt starts moving. I think our crane operator is showing off a bit by picking up the next coil while it's still moving. Let's follow along and see where these are heading. Notice how they're all rotated with that center facing out. We'll see why they're arranged like that in just a minute, but let's watch one more coil get lifted and go for a ride. Here's a wider shot of the green coil storage area. You can see there's a few hundred, if not a few thousand coils on site here. Now, I assume nearly all of these ones left outside still need to be finished either here or at another facility. Notice the coil tractors here in the corner. I'm not sure what the weight is, but every so often I notice they'd all gather around and then wait for the crane operator to ready several coils to be taken out to the yard. You can also see a tanker truck spraying water in the area. That must be to keep dust down from flying into the nearby neighborhoods on the other side of the road. One quick question though, does anyone know if these rail cars are still in use or have they been just relegated to storage units for these coils? We'll only be focusing on the rail cars for this video, but I do know that flatbed trailers come in here and load up as well. These vehicles go by several names, including coil tractor, haul masters, pole trucks, pecker trucks, ram tractors, rhinos, and a few other phallic related names. But these ones appear to be made by Taylor, and essentially there are forklifts without the fork, and instead they have a pole to carry the coils. I'm going to call them tractors just to make it easy on myself. These crews seem to be restocking the coil yard with freshly made steel. Now, I'm guessing each pile or section is a different grade or maybe quality or style of steel. Let's watch them in action for a bit. It really is like a choreographed dance the way these crews operate. They really do make it look so easy. I wonder how long it takes an operator to know just how to move one of these things. Alright, well now we know how the coils are moved, let's see some loaded onto some rail cars. In the lower portion of your screen, you can see an empty string of cars being spotted into position. These ones are brought in and out of the facility by Norfolk Southern, but CSX also hauls coils out of here. There we see an old switcher pushing them where they need to be. Notice those gondolas. I believe they have hot briquetted iron, or HBI, from the Cliffs Direct Reduction Facility in Toledo. Here's a closer look at that HBI from a different day. I've been trying to catch them loading up there, but haven't had any luck so far. So if you can't help, I'd love to record it. Alright, this is from a different day. Ironically, I think this may have been the first day I ever recorded at the steel mill. This was in August of 2023, and I'm finally getting around to put this footage together more than 2 years later. Initially, I just wanted to put together a video showing NS 375 being loaded in Middletown, and then chase it to its Rockport, Indiana destination. Little did I know just how far down this rabbit hole I would go. Well, enough of that history lesson. Let's focus on that tractor and coil in front of us. I'd had to imagine these machines have some type of counterweight to balance them while carrying a coil. And notice the dually tires in the front to help carry and spread out that load. He must be getting close, the coil's beginning to raise. He was too quick for me in the drone as I tried to switch camera views, but you can see they just set these things in there. No additional straps or anything else, just the shape of the car to keep the coils in place. And just like that, he's off to get another load. I was looking around when a tractor snuck up on me. We'll watch from a distance as he lines up and then drops another coil onto a car. Let's check out another coil being loaded. What do you think? Is this how you thought these coils were loaded, or did you think that there was a more automated system? Let's follow one more coil, this time looking at it straight on. Now that we've seen how the rail cars are loaded, let's take a quick look around. But first, this is really cool, I think. In front of the hot strip mill, you'll find these letters spelling out hot strip. These were directly cut from steel slabs. A big thank you to Annie for pointing this out to me on a Facebook post. Her husband and another worker were the ones who made them. Back to the coils. I barely noticed this while I was recording, but there's a conveyor belt that carries some of the green coils to other parts of the facility to finish the steel in various ways. You can see the cart runs on rails and does a loop to head to finishing areas. Those tractors also move some of these freshly pressed coils. This one is taking a coil to the hot rolled processing building. Also, out of curiosity, are all these rusted coils still usable, or are they just waiting to be scrapped? Let's watch as more coils are picked up and moved. Like I mentioned, it's not just Norfolk Southern that hauls coils out of here. In another area of the site, these coils will be handled by CSX. It's part of train B523, or well, at least it was when they were going back and forth between the Rouge River plant. I'm still not sure though where this gets loaded. I've never seen it happen during the more than 2 years I've been coming here. In an upcoming video, we'll follow this train as it leaves the mill and turns north to Toledo on its way to a now partially idle Dearborn Works. We'll also see those Dearborn Works in action before Cliffs pull the plug on the hot side. Back to our coils. This was a first for me. A Norfolk Southern engine running hammerhead style is bringing in a string of cars. It has some coil cars, several empty gondolas, and 2 tank cars. This caught me by surprise. I thought the crew was just dropping off some empties, but they actually just picked them up, and they're about to pick up those coil cars we just watched get loaded. I believe that's an NS conductor getting ready to flip that switch. Well, that does it for the steel coil loading portion of the video. We'll follow the train out of the mill, into Reed Yard next door where those cars will be spotted, and then watch as a DPU is hooked onto our train and it heads out onto the main line. Our next trip will be a combination of train and steel. We'll follow along as NS-375 is refueled near Danville, Kentucky, and then makes its way from Louisville onto the Cleveland Cliffs Rockport Works in Indiana, where those coils will be finished. I hope you'll check that out when it's finished. Until then, I hope you have a great day.